Myself and Vit have set out on this trip seeking a bit of a different adventure. We're camped up here next to Reedy Creek in the Woolshed Valley, which spans between Beechworth and Eldorado. The majority of these sites along here are free and first in, best dressed. We found this little spot with a muddy entrance, which means we've had it all to ourselves. It's a super peaceful spot and the weather is beautiful, but this trip isn't going to be all about sunshine and relaxation. So crystals and jewellery has been something Vit's always been into. This trip we thought we'd have a crack at fossicking for our own stuff. We're mainly interested in gemstones, but we're parked up here on Reedy Creek, which is very well known for gold, so we thought we'd have a crack. I just wanted to share our journey with it and a little bit about what I've learnt on where to even start looking for gold. So let's go have a look. So looking at a piece of bedrock like this, we would start looking at these cracks over here. Because the gold's heavier than the other sediment and the rocks coming down the stream, that's going to get bogged down in these sections. And then another bit where I'd be looking is over here at the end of the bedrock, where dirt's kind of pooled and got stuck. It's not getting pushed downstream. That's another spot. We'll go have another look a bit closer. So this is one of the crevices I pointed out. So I would dig out these. I think people call it crevicing. There's a high chance that there'll be gold in there. And then coming over here, this is another good looking spot where there's actually a pretty big boulder there and there's a few bits of stuff behind it. So I'd be digging out that stuff that's been stuck behind that. This is that section at the end of the bedrock. It's gathered a fair bit of sediment here. Have a go at that. But I was just looking over here. There's another bit where the stream comes through. And a lot of bigger rocks have been stuck here. So that's another good sign. If bigger rocks are getting stuck, that means heavier things are stopping. There might be a chance that there's some gold there. So I should mention the gear we've grabbed to have a go at this. Pretty basic, just grabbed a sieve set. So this one's sort of a coarser sieve for the bigger rocks. And then this is a more fine sieve. So I kind of go through the big sieve into the small sieve, and then what's left is the sand that the gold might be in, and that goes into the gold pan. So once we're done pulling back all this sort of heavier silt, we're left with a few things up top. This is probably one of the bigger flecks that I've had come through today. So here, a few little small ones dotted around. After an arvo of tinkering by the water's edge, this is what I ended up with. I'm not sure if it's a good haul or not, but I was pretty damn excited just to find anything at all. After whipping up some hearty burritos for dinner, we settled in for a warm night around the fire. Today we're heading out for a bit more of an exploration day. We'd heard that there's a waterfall nearby that was less popular than the main Woolshed Falls, so that's where we're setting off to first. You can get your car pretty close to Barry Falls along Warbler Track, and the remaining walk would only have to be around a kilometre return. The landscape here is something completely different to the typical dry Aussie bush. I love the granite boulders and the pine trees mixed in with the gums. The sun was belting down on us, so by the time we got to the falls, we were well and truly ready for a dip. To get back to camp, we tried to find a more challenging route. Currawang track branched off from Warbler track, and it definitely provided the four-wheel drive fix that I was after.
Well, hello there. Are you my ride?
After a lot of digging online, pun intended, I found a site that had locations of known fossicking spots across Vic, one of which was an amethyst mine up in the hills above where we were camping. To our surprise, there was actually remains of a site there. So with very little clue what we were doing, we set to work. Vit stuck mainly to surveying the surface around the holes, and I tried my hand at digging down. So from here, the day took a complete turn, and I want to tell the story because, for the most part, I didn't have my camera out. We're just about to leave the spot when someone rocked up. He was a local, and it turns out his dad actually used to own a lease on this mine in the earlier days. So he was an absolute wealth of knowledge. We let him know that we'd only just sort of started getting into fossicking, and that we pretty much had no idea what we were doing, even though I think it was pretty obvious. And I just threw it out there. I said, oh, if you've got any tips you can throw away, we'd be more than excited to absorb it and learn from it. And well, we pretty much could not believe our ears when he offered to show us a few spots in the local area. We crossed our fingers that he wasn't an axe murderer and followed him into the bush. Now, while I can't share these spots because he showed us in good faith, I can share the stuff that he taught us throughout the arvo. Even he admitted that finding gemstones can be pretty hit and miss, and I guess that's the beauty of it. But there's definitely a few signs to look out for that's going to point you in the right direction. So these are the ones I can remember. Big hunks of quartz like this on the surface of an area is usually a pretty good first step in deciding whether a place has good potential or not. Seeing two different types of granite formations, so one formation might be more rounded off and the other one might be more jagged, and that means that there's potential that they've broken down, and then in that spot where they've broken is created an area where crystals can grow. So finding pegmatite or quartz buildup on granite like this, and this is a really good example as well because the granite split in half and formed a cavity, and it's a good spot for the crystals to form. The guy told us that in a spot like this, you'd start digging this out and then dig down further downhill where the crystals may have fallen as well. Quartz is usually formed in a reef, and they usually span in a pretty much straight line across the countryside. When digging in these reefs, he said to keep an eye out for red oxide clay like we've got here. That can indicate that there's a cavity in the reef and it's a good spot for crystals to grow. So basically I've taken away two things from today, and that's if you're in a crystal rich area like we are in Beechworth, Eldorado, is just take a punt, go up into the hills, go for a drive, explore, go down goat tracks. You may just stumble upon some diggings and have a crack. And the other thing is just be willing to talk to people, try and absorb as much information as you can, have your eyes open at all times, and just hope for some good luck like we did. We cannot thank this guy enough. He gave us an absolute awesome day and has absolutely made our trip. The following day we woke up early to avoid the heat and went back to one of the spots that he'd shown us to try our luck. Might not be the most glamorous thing to be doing when you're out camping, but surprisingly addictive. We're going just to a time warp and we're 2 hours later in the day. Having much luck?
A lot. There's like all these little tiny ones just on the surface and they've all got little pointers, which is cool.
Alright, we're going to call it quits there. We're pretty beat and the sun's starting to come out now. Didn't find anything absolutely crazy, but I guess that's the nature of it. We're pretty keen to get down the river, wash ourselves and the crystals and see what we found. So after a bit of a cleanup, this is what I wound up with from my digging this morning. And this is what Vit wound up with after just doing a lot of surface fossicking. She got absolutely heaps. Which one's your favourite?
So I have 3 favourites. This one here, so it's like 2 little towers, and then these 2 pointers that were just sitting in the ground. Pretty cool.
Happy? So I'm sure about 90% of you think we're absolutely nuts for spending our holiday up in the hills digging, but we've had a wicked time and it was good to try out something new. But for the people who did enjoy it, drop a comment below and let us know, and I'll keep filming trips like this. I'll have links to the campsite we went to and the waterfall we visited in the description below. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.